The National Assembly Joint Committee on INEC has adopted the 143 billion naira INEC budget, which the President had earlier forwarded to Parliament to fund the 2019 general elections. After a closed-door meeting, the chairman of the committee, Senator Sulaiman Nazif, told journalists at the National Assembly that the Joint Committee decided to adopt the 143 billion and not the lump sum of 189 billion naira that INEC is requesting. President Muhammadu Buhari had earlier requested that the National Assembly transfer 143 billion naira from projects it inserted into the 2018 budget to fund next year's elections, while a balance of 46 billion naira will be included in the 2019 budget. However, INEC is asking that it be given both sums of 143 and 46 billion naira in one tranche.
The Joint Committee has sat and has deliberated their position to adopt the 143 billion as presented by Mr. President. And at this point in time, it is also the wish of this committee that INEC represent their budget of 143 as requested by Mr. President. So therefore, INEC has an opportunity to reprioritize, and this committee will be ready to receive their report tomorrow. This committee will be reconvening tomorrow by 1 o'clock so that we can consider the presentation by INEC.
Meanwhile, African leaders have been asked to improve the quality of life of people and uphold respect for the rule of law. Ghanaian President Nana Akufo-Addo made this appeal at the opening plenary of the ongoing 58th Annual General Meeting of the Nigerian Bar Association, the NBA. He also sued for strengthening of democratic institutions for the preservation of democracy in Africa. Our correspondent, Terry Ikumi, has a report.
And Ghana, of course.
It is the opening plenary of the 58th Annual General Conference of the Nigerian Bar Association, NBA, holding at the International Conference Center, Abuja. In attendance are the President of Ghana, the Emir of Kano, former Head of State Abdulsalami Abubakar, former INEC Chairman Atahiru Jega, lawyers drawn from across Nigeria, and other invited guests. The theme for this year's conference is Transition, Transformation, and Sustainable Institutions. The Ghanaian president takes to the podium and tasks African leaders to improve the quality of life of the people.
We have a great battle to fight and win, and that is the battle to provide our people with a good quality of life. I have no hesitation whatsoever in recommending that all African countries adopt a policy of free compulsory education from kindergarten to senior high school.
With the high rate of corruption in Africa, the need to strengthen relevant institutions cannot be overemphasized.
Why is the cost of building a single classroom block so high when the government is doing it, and so remarkably different when it's being done by the private sector? In order for us to build a continent that meets the aspirations of the African peoples and opens up opportunities for all, we must prioritize our budgetary arrangements to ensure the funds are available to strengthen key institutions of state, such as the legislature, judiciary, fiscal institutions, amongst others.
There are important lessons from political transitions and governance in Africa, and the need for a smooth electioneering process.
Accept the outcome of the election, and rather than encouraging conflict by way of litigation or violent protests.
Electoral integrity is key to stable political transitions and to ensuring that there is a good framework also for good governance and for societal development.
The conference is expected to chart the course for peaceful and successful transitions and highlight the strength of institutions to withstand the shocks that may be incidental to change. About 10,000 delegates are participating at the conference. Terry Ikumi, Channels Television News.
Around the West African region, member countries of the Lake Chad Basin Commission have adopted a regional strategy aimed at mitigating the impact of the Boko Haram insurgency. The strategy for stabilizing, recovery and resilience was adopted at a ministerial conference and validation workshop held in Abuja. Speakers of the event, hosted by the Commission and the African Union with the support of the United Nations Development Programme, say military intervention alone will not be enough to end the war on Boko Haram.
Boko Haram was ranked the world's deadliest terror group by the Global Terrorism Index in 2015, causing a global-scale crisis in countries like Nigeria, Chad, Niger, and Cameroon, which are all member countries of the Lake Chad Basin. It is to mitigate the impact of this crisis that the Lake Chad Basin Commission, the African Union, and the United Nations Development Programme are holding this meeting to adopt a regional stabilization strategy.
The first pillar of this strategy is the security and human rights pillar, which cuts across all other pillars. The transition from military presence in the affected areas to that of civil police, as well as the roles of the civilian joint task force, are central to the success or otherwise of the strategy.
The United Nations Development Programme Country Director spoke on challenges faced in the Lake Chad Basin.
UNDP and the entire UN system stands ready to support, where it may be necessary, partners to ensure inclusive, sustainable and accountable implementation of the strategy to help lift millions of vulnerable people out of poverty.
The African Union, on its part, pledged its full support for the strategy, saying it is part of the Union's Conflict Prevention and Management Directive.
We give our full support to this process and we look forward to its validation and to its signing. For us, it is very, very important as part of our prevention, conflict prevention and conflict management, for us to have this strategy, and we really thank our partnership with the United Nations in this.
The Ministry of Water Resources for Nigeria spoke on the need for a stabilization strategy in the region.
The formulation of a regional stabilization strategy was born out of the need to develop a framework to curtail the mayhem and ravaging activities of the Boko Haram insurgents, to uphold human rights principles and protect lives and properties, especially of the most vulnerable.
Again, it is buttressed that military action alone is insufficient to fight the war on insurgency and terrorism. Nigeria has been a member of the Lake Chad Basin Commission since 1964 and pays 52% of its $1 million annual budget. Now, for the next few days, member countries of the Lake Chad Basin Commission will be combing through this newly adopted stabilization strategy, looking at areas of engagement which they believe will be sufficient in fighting terror and bringing peace to a region whose prosperity has been adversely affected by Boko Haram. Kayla Megwa, Channels Television News.
Leah Sharibu, the last of the 119 abducted students of Government Girls Secondary School, Dapchi, Yobe State, has appealed to President Muhammadu Buhari to rescue her from captivity. Her plea to the president is contained in an audio recording exclusively obtained by online publication The Cable as a proof of life, along with her latest picture. She has been in captivity for almost 7 months after being captured in February, along with her schoolmates, by the Islamic State West Africa province, ISWAP, a breakaway faction of Boko Haram. All the girls who were captured were subsequently released, but Ms. Sharibu was detained for refusing to renounce her Christian faith. While the picture obtained by The Cable shows Leah clad in a hijab made from a light brown fabric, and a 35-second audio, she also appeals for assistance for her family members. Take a listen.
Ni ce mai suna Leah Sharibu, wanda aka ɗauke ni a GGSTC Dapchi. Ina kuka wa gwamnati da kuma jama'a. ku taimake ni, ku fidda ni a cikin wannan yanayin da nake ciki. Ku taimaki mahaifiyata da mahaifina da ƙanina da 'yan uwana. Ku taimake ni ku fitar da ni a cikin wannan yanayin da nake ciki. Ina roƙon ku ji tausayina. Ina roƙon gwamnati kuma da kanta da shugaban ƙasa ku ji tausayina ku fitar da ni a cikin wannan yanayin da nake ciki.
The voice of Leah, Sharibu, one of the girls abducted from Dapchi. The presidency says the Department of State Services is analyzing that audio recording in connection with Leah. The Senior Special Assistant to the President on Media and Publicity, Mr. Garba Shehu, says via his Twitter handle that we are aware of the audio in circulation concerning the unfortunate situation of our daughter, Leah Sharibu. In dealing with terrorists, nothing is too trivial. The Secret Service is analyzing the voice. Our reaction will follow the outcome of the investigation. For President Buhari, nothing will be spared in bringing all our girls home. He will not rest until all of them are freed. In other stories, the incoming president of the ECOWAS Court of Justice, Edward Asante, has promised to protect the rights of citizens of the Economic Community of West African States. Justice Asante made the pledge at the handing over ceremony of the court in Abuja. He's also hopeful that with more funding, the court will achieve its set objectives of resolving disputes within the ECOWAS sub-region.
The ECOWAS Court of Justice is the judicial organ of the Economic Community of West African States, charged with the responsibility of resolving disputes related to the community's treaty, protocols and conventions. The ECOWAS Community Court of Justice also has the jurisdiction to hear individual complaints on allegations of human rights violations. Benin Republic, Burkina Faso, Cape Verde, Ivory Coast, the Gambia, Ghana, Guinea, Guinea-Bissau, Liberia, Mali, Niger, Nigeria, Senegal, Sierra Leone and Togo make up the 15-member community. Through the years of its existence, the court has attended to a series of issues, yet it still has piled up cases to attend to.
The protocol establishing the court clearly provides that the court shall consist of 7 members. Recently, an administrative decision was taken reducing the number of judges of the court from 7 to 5. We are saying that this is going to be a huge challenge for us because it will be difficult to constitute more than one panel at a time.
Both the outgoing president of the court and the president of the ECOWAS Commission, who spoke in French, highlight major achievements of the court, noting that a lot more can still be done to protect the rights of its people. Next is the signing of the handover note. The incoming president of the court promises to work with his 5-member team to deliver justice on pending cases before the court.
Human rights in our sub-region is a very delicate issue, which we must all come together to deal with. We will not leave out the Auditor General, who also makes sure provision is made for all the things, logistics that we need to have the work done very well.
While the old leadership gives way for the new, observers look forward to see if these lofty goals will be achieved in the days ahead.
In part 2, after the break, UK Prime Minister Theresa May to visit Nigeria on Wednesday as part of her first Africa tour since becoming British leader. Please stay with us.